to order. This is a special meeting for the Building Standards Commission. It is 6:02 p.m. And since the chairman's not here, I'll call this meeting to order.
The one has to call it to order is the intern.
I'm sorry, the vice is not with us. There is no.
Then the elect one.
So who would like to call the meeting to order?
If I'm nominated, I call this meeting to order.
Great.
Okay. Albert Lowry. For the record, Mr. Albert Lowry called this meeting to order. 6:02. And first item is the roll call. Let me put the roll call. Today is July the 23rd. I'm going to modify this. We were supposed to have a meeting on July the 10th. Mr. Alan Jackson is not with us right now. Might show up later. Mr. Albert Lowry.
Present.
Mr. Orlando Perez.
Present.
Mr. Chris Haynes.
Present.
Ms. Teresa Fonseca.
Here.
All right, Mr. Lowry, you have a quorum?
Good.
Second, next item is the citizen comments. Is there anybody that would like to make any comments? Okay. Oh, here's the. Okay.
What's that?
That's Anna.
That's okay. Go ahead, have a seat.
We're here.
Again.
Oh,
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
No.
We've called the meeting to order and had roll call and
We're just
And
ready.
we're just about to get started.
We just got here in time.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting on May 9th.
Seconded.
Mr. Chris Haynes motion, Mr. Pettis second. Is there a all in favor or?
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same
Sign motion carries.
Okay, so now we're on staff report, item 5. So first item is a presentation from Community Development Department on the 2019 Operation Crackdown. If you may, Ms. Martinez is here to.
Can I pass me the, is it, oh, it's not a wireless mouse anymore.
No, it's not, but I'll, just tell me, I'll click it.
Good evening. My name is Tina Martinez. I'm the Programs Administrator for Community Development. With me, I also brought Felipe Aguilar. He's the Code Enforcement Supervisor for our division in our department. And then some of the code officers that are involved with this year's Operation Crackdown. So what is Operation Crackdown? I don't know if many of you have heard of it, the program, but Operation Crackdown is a Texas Joint Counter Drug Task Force program known for demolishing houses connected with illegal drug trade, making neighborhoods safer, and helping prepare students to make good decisions. The City of Laredo's 2019 campaign is projected to assist the city in the demolition of about 20 structures, which would yield us about $200,000 in savings. Now, in the past 5 years, Operation Crackdown has been demolishing about 150 structures. Now, if y'all are, I don't know if y'all have heard You know, we usually have this, it's a task force between different, entities, law enforcement entities. National Guard comes down to the Laredo for 2 weeks, and they use this commission, you know, to train their staff and to help us clean our neighborhoods. Laredo Police Department assists us in making sure that there are no drug nexus to these properties, because that is one of the main criteria for it to qualify for Operation Crackdown. And through our Code Enforcement Division, we ensure that, you know, we notify the I guess, the public that, you know, their houses are in dilapidated states that are gonna be considered through the Building Standards Board at one point to be demolished forcefully, or they can work with us voluntarily. So that is a little incentive. Now, this year, we're kind of in a little time crunch. Usually, National Guard does give us about 5 to 6 months to prepare for this. This year, we had been notified early on that they weren't gonna have funding for us. And lo and behold, we got notice 2 weeks ago that they do have funding. Their fiscal year finishes in September 30th, so they're willing to come down September 16th. That gives us very little time frame for us to do what we usually do in 4 to 5 months to prepare the checklist that they wanna see. Now, they are asking to see these properties and qualify them 30 days in advance of this. So this puts us at an August 12th deadline to submit the 20, they wanna see 20 properties with all the checklists required. So that is why we brought it to the board. I know there was some properties that you all have been considering looking at for many years. I know through the building department, they've been tagging some properties. So this is another way for us to let the community know that, you know, this program is available, and that, you know, through your joint effort and through ours, we can make our neighborhoods a little bit safer. Next slide. Or do you want to add something?
Well, I wanted to point out also that the process through the Operation Crackdown, since it is federal funds, they do have a lot more requirements than what the city process is. Meaning, you gotta, some kind of criminal activity.
Yeah, so the property does have to be not just, you know, dilapidated and substandard. There has to be a nexus tied to it. So through Border Patrol, through Laredo PD, they give us the reports, and that's gonna be part of the packet that we give to National Guard. There has to be some sort of nexus that they would be eliminating from the neighborhood.
As well as,
I'm sure
if it's in the historical
Yeah.
district, or a historical structure, the state would need to clear it as well.
Yes, so the State Historical Preservation Office does get notified of these properties that we're intending to demolish. And since the National Guard is still a federal program, there is still some clearance that we need from them.
Right.
Unfortunately, in the past, we have gotten 1 or 2, and I think the last year we might have brought, I believe we brought the presentation to the board. And unfortunately, there was 1 or 2 properties that the State Historical Preservation Office said that they would not approve the demo, they would want the preservation of it. Of course, there's no funding for preservation, so that kind of just takes a backseat to our list. Currently, I mean, between the building department and code enforcement, we do have a list of over 100 structures in the city. So yes, we have demolished 120, what was our numbers?
150.
150 in the last 5 years. But I think that's still a dent. I mean, every year we're identifying more, and there is more houses that are being left abandoned and substandard out in our community.
We have a list. We have been bringing structures, properties to the board for forever, like 7 to 10 years. So we do have a list. We just need to look for it. Because once they have been deemed for demolition, we don't have to bring it back to the board. We just proceed. Because now we have funding, now we knock them down. We don't, legally, we don't have to do any of that. We'll step right up to the asbestos and whatever else they need. We could also go through the police department and get reports on that property. In fact, in the 311 list that I received, you know, it has officers reporting the structures. So I think that getting 20 is it's easy. We don't have to bring them over here.
So, no,
We
of
already
course,
did.
of course, and this is just informational. Right now, out of the 20, I already have 11 signed contracts.
Great.
And we are just working on those last 9. And if we get 25, they're willing to do, they said anywhere from 20 to 25 structures. They work on a 2-week basis, and we basically schedule their day for them. They can actually demo 2 to 3 properties in a day.
Great.
So we've done multiple properties in one day. So it just depends on how quickly we can get the public to come in. Part of the requirements to participate in the program is they need to show proof of ownership. So I need to have, so if it's multiple owners, I need all multiple owners to sign off. If it's one person, I mean, as long as they bring me their proof, their deed, their warranty, whatever they have to show ownership, they bring it to me, they bring me their valid ID, and we can start the process. We start signing the contract, and then everything else starts rolling for us. We check with the state, we check for the asbestos clearance, and we process it through. We're gonna send them to the National Guard, and they'll let us know if it qualifies ultimately. So we do have our community development is the department that is taking the lead on the contract side of it. So, just so the public can know, our code enforcement department, code enforcement division is 795-5730. That's the phone number. Next slide. I did want to share to you all some of the impacts that Operation Crackdown has had in our community. Here you see an example of, in 2014, this was one of our identified properties on Pender, and it actually took them in 2 years, and we don't know who it was, we just kind of drove by. We drive by them. Most of our code enforcement supervisors are very familiar with their area, so they can right away recognize what used to be an Operation Crackdown property. So we saw 2 years later, this beautiful house came up. That's just a great example of how much it picked up the neighborhood. Next one. There's another example of not only joining forces to get rid of this property on Grant Street on 2014, but then years later, the city actually decided I believe the councilman on the district decided to buy that property, and we created a great park with the coordination of community development block grant. So there's a great park there. Another example is San Bernardo, that dilapidated property got torn down, and now there's a new business there. Next, and this is just an example of another on Zapata Highway. I'm sure most of us have seen that one. What a change that did. And that's it. If you have any questions, I don't know, Mr. Aguilar, would you like to add anything?
No, I think it's just a great effort that we have between different various city departments, and we'd like to thank the building department for inviting us so we can present this information to the public as well.
I would like to add that this Operation Crackdown, again, if it's a voluntary thing and it does need to comply with certain parameters, but this Building Standards Commission that's free. This is not. The city does have an ordinance and can force property owners, and so I'm just saying, for the publics, please try to take advantage of it if you can, but this process of substandard houses the Operation Crackdown is just for houses. The substandard is business or residential, and the city will hire a contractor to demolish it or comply, and there is a lien with a 10%, what is it? A 10% annual, go ahead, Jerry.
And what it is also is once you've been identified as a building that's substandard, you're either gonna go through us and you're gonna have to pay for it, meaning the owner has to pay for it. We'll bill you, and it's because it's been identified, and so therefore it's gonna have to be fixed. If you don't go through us, there's an opportunity where you cannot afford to pay, whatever. Here is an opportunity to have. Furthermore, if you happen to be on a NEZ zone, which is a tax abatement rebate type of program that we offer, once we torn down that structure, and then you have a building-free lot, you can reinvest in there, and you're gonna be able to buy at the lower rate that lot is, and freeze your taxes for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's a different program, but.
Enterprise
let- let
zone?
me-
And
Neighborhood empowerment zone.
Neighborhood Empowerment Zone is what Mr. Pinzon, for the record, that was Mr. Pinzon, he's the
Sorry,
building
yeah,
official.
building official.
And I'm Roland Lozano with the building department. What I wanted to also point out is that, the city will try to work with the owners, okay? We're not trying to demolish anybody's property. We want the owners to come up and address these issues. The government doesn't wanna be getting into private property and tearing things down. That's not the intent. But if it continues to be a nuisance, because that's defined in this ordinance. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody that may or may not have known. We have to enforce. It's already a city law that we're trying to enforce. And so we don't want, because it encourages criminal activity or vagrancy or things like that. We're right on the border. We don't want structures there that are not being maintained, that people can go in there and use it for whatever. And so the idea is to make sure that these properties are going to be properly maintained. So I just wanted to point that out. I know community development is doing a great effort in trying to promote this program, Operation Crackdown. This committee deals with, we wanted them to invite them again to make sure that they came in and said it, so that I know some of you guys have been reached out as committee members, and so that way you can pass the word on. You rather hear from Tina than from Roland. So that's, because Tina is a nice person, but I'll just put it that way.
No, we have a nice program. And we don't know, unfortunately, we are at the mercy of the National Guard in the sense of funding, so we don't know if this program is gonna come back next year. So whoever can take advantage of it should contact us and take advantage of it. Because right now, they're never able to really tell me if they're gonna come back in next year. And yeah, just like this year, and then they give us very short notice. But any other questions, I mean, feel free to call our office, or I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to point out that on this week's agenda the agenda that was printed was for the May meeting. June, there was a meeting that there was no quorum. And the July meeting, today's meeting, printed out the May meeting instead of the June meeting. And so we can't speak, we went ahead for the June meeting, sent out the notices, and I know there's property owners here in reference to those. We can't legally open them because they're not posted on the agenda. So we're gonna, when it gets posted again, probably gonna be in second Wednesday of the month on August. This committee meets on the second Wednesday of every month. And so we haven't had cases this month. This year's been really slow at the beginning because we're trying to make sure that we follow the due process to every property. So with that in mind, I know on your committee members, on your package, there's the June meeting agenda and today's July's, and they're different, so the June cannot be opened up. So for those that came, as far as property owners, we will let you know next time. Mr. Orozco, Edgar Orozco from Building Department, he's the zoning supervisor, helping us out on this, and Ms. Annabelle Ramirez, certified housing inspector, can help out as well. We're there at the building department. If anybody has any questions, they can come talk to us. We'd rather have the owners come up and address their own issues and not bring cases to this board and force properties to be demolished or addressed. We don't wanna have to put an extra burden on any property owner. So if there's any questions, I can be available after the meeting. During this meeting, we cannot bring up any case for that purpose. So moving on, these items that are here on these, I can give you updates. Item 2 on this, following the properties identified as substandards. All these properties have been issued demo orders signed by the chair, posted in the newspaper now, and it's in the last leg of getting a contractor to go out and demolish. It was posted again. None of these owners have come up and said that they haven't addressed it. So at this time, all these properties here, as I said, have a demo order that's signed, has been in the newspaper, and we're just waiting to go to purchasing and get a bid out to see how much these properties will cost to be demolished. Basically, the only thing that, as far as other than the minutes, it was just the communication from community development, and at this stage, I don't think we have any other items to open up.
So you advise we move to number 6, public hearing?
Yes, well, let me see. All those properties as well have been already deemed.
Oh,
Approved already for demolition.
okay, so that's already
Yeah,
done.
yes.
Oh.
There's not much we
Actually,
can discuss.
so-
Okay,
Actually, going to
There
item
was a
number 7.
misprint on the agenda.
gotcha, okay.
Okay.
So these were done back in May. And they were
So-
already, in the May meeting, they were voted on.
Are you entertaining a motion to adjourn?
I will, unless you guys wanna discuss these items again,
No.
not every item was demoed. There was some, so, yeah.
Okay.
Are these, any of these structures can be, are they in consideration for the Operation Crackdown? We already, all these structures listed here?
We have given community development, I believe, these demo orders, or if not, I can forward them. And they can contact the owners, but we haven't had any contact back. The one that cannot is G, that's the San Bernardo. That one's,
Commercial.
That one's considered kind of commercial, it's in a commercial district. Even though it's kind of a house, that one, they want to restore, so the owner has come up and said they want to restore that property. So G, 305 San Bernardo, that one is going, they want to be off they want to come up with a plan to restore it.
No one from Illinois?
I can give you all an update. We, on the Fiesta Loop, that one has come in and signed, so
Okay.
thank you for that issue of that order, actually helps us because they actually did come in and sign. So will be participating in our program. Hibiscus has also notified us, they've come to our office and they signed, so they will be participating in our program.
Good.
So you can
Very
also
good.
see
Nice.
that's an accomplishment on y'all's part because they will get demolished.
They signed, Hibiscus signed?
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
said. We couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
From
Oh,
Mexico.
wow, yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
lot of owners or
Great.
So that helps, so y'all's efforts do,
good.
are assisting. And then Montezuma, this one has been done, there's no structure there.
Done.
So I believe it was a voluntary, like they did it on their own.
Yes, that is,
So they probably, hurried up and demoed it knowing that the city was gonna come in and demo it for a fee.
Charge, okay, good.
And then 920 Philadelphia, they came in and signed off? Yes, 920 Philadelphia, the ones on the top of the list. 920 Philadelphia also has come in and signed. So we do have 3 that have demo orders that will be participating.
Great.
How about Scott Street?
it's a
1949.
commercial property.
Oh, that's correct.
Yeah. But it's a burned down, that's a burned down,
Again, Operation
Right.
Crackdown is for residential.
yeah.
Yeah, so, that warehouse, yeah,
It's hard to get the owners,
Yeah.
That's where,
And I'm sure more of these properties would, but most of these owners
They're still the owners.
they're
there.
deceased, and and it's hard to get a hold of whoever is
In charge.
taking care of this property. And I know 906 Fremont, they wanted to, but there was several owners, but that was like 2-3 years ago, and they haven't come forward anymore.
No, that's gonna be demolished.
So that we're gonna have to force do that.
Good.
Yep.
All right. All that being said, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Same sign, motion carried.
Okay, meeting over. For the record, it was Chris Haynes and